Ladies and gentlemen, avatars of innovation and pioneers of the boundless digital frontier, welcome to the Metaverse Tunisian Summit, where reality and imagination intertwine to forge a realm of infinite possibilities. Here, in this realm of pixels and dreams, we stand at the precipice of a new era, an era where technology transcends the confines of screens and embraces us within its immersive embrace. We are the architects of this cybernetic evolution, united by our passion for VR/AR, game development, blockchain marvels, and the artistry of 3D modeling. We are the creators sculpting worlds, the storytellers weaving digital narratives, and the visionaries shaping the metaverse. As we gather here today, we do more than convene. We forge connections, we ignite collaborations, and we spark the flame of a unified movement. Together, we pioneer new pathways, innovate in our practices, and redefine the boundaries of human interaction within this digital realm. Welcome, one and all, to the Metaverse Tunisian Summit, where dreams are coded, realities are redefined, and the future unfolds before our very eyes.
Our commitment to exploration, to embrace the digital landscape, and to harness the potential for a digital future. Throughout these days, we invite you to dive into discussions, to break the limitations, to explore and to embrace the digital evolution and to harness its potential. This summit is a canvas for ideation and collaboration. Our diverse panel of speakers, experts, innovators, embodies the conversion of brilliance, creativity, and relentless pursuit of excellence.
However, all of these are only a few of the values we share, we as IEEE SMU with IEEE SUBCOM. Our relationship over these last 2 years has been built around mutual respect, shared goals, and a common vision of harnessing technology for a better future. This partnership symbolizes our commitment towards learning, thriving through knowledge, and the advancement of technology. Together, we will chart pathways that redefine industries, foster collaboration that bridge continents, and embrace innovation that will shape the very core of our existence. Together with our organizing committee that have put their sweat and tears in this process, we invite you all to immerse yourself in the insightful discussions, innovative showcases, and collaborative dialogues that await us in these days. I want also to deeply thank our partners and our sponsors that have made this event possible, without forgetting our speakers that are from all over the world. So let us embark together into the boundless horizon of the metaverse, and welcome to the Metaverse Tunisian Summit.
Thank you, Firas. Thank you, Mariam. Very heartwarming speech. Next up, I'd like to welcome the two chairmen and chairwoman of the SUBCOM student branch and the IEEE SMU student branch. Nourhan Aziz, Amin Zouawi, would you please come on stage?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Amin Zouawi, and I'm honored to stand before you as the chairman of IEEE SMU Student Branch. Representing an organization that has been at the forefront of technological innovation, today we gather here not just as participants in an event, but as a community united by a common passion for advancing technology and fostering innovation. As we embark on this journey, it's important to reflect on the values that define us as members of the IEEE community. Our commitment to excellence, integrity, and collaboration has allowed us to make significant strides in shaping the future of technology. It is with great pleasure that I also acknowledge the collaboration with IEEE SUBCOM Student Branch, a partnership that serves as a testament to our shared commitment to fostering innovation and advancement. In joining forces, we amplify the impact of our collective efforts, creating an environment that nurtures creativity, and pushes the boundaries of what is possible. The IEEE Subcom Student Branch and the SMU Student Branch collaboration represents more than just a partnership. It is a celebration of the spirit of collaboration that defines the IEEE community. Together, we are not merely witnessing to change. We are the architects of progress, driven by the belief that technology has the power to transform lives and shape a better future for all. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the participants and volunteers who have joined hands with us. Together, let us make this event a testament to the power of collaboration and the celebration of the remarkable possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you, and welcome to the Metaverse.
Thank you, Amin. Next up, we have Nurhan.
Ladies and gentlemen, a splendid day to each and every one of you. I'm Nurhan Azayas, honored to serve as the chairwoman of IEEE SRIPCOM Student Branch. Today, I am delighted to celebrate the enduring collaboration we've nurtured with IEEE SMU Student Branch. This partnership isn't just a collaboration. It's a shared commitment to fostering innovation, nurturing a culture of continuous learning, and advancing the frontiers of knowledge. Now, you might be wondering, why are we always eager to participate and organize such events? Well, the answer lies simply in its impact. We, together with you, believe in the transformative power of residing within the realms of technology and the digital world. These gatherings are not mere events, but catalytic moments that propel us forward, steering the course of technological knowledge. Our mission, embedded in our institution and our community, is crystal clear: to empower, to educate, and to inspire. We strive to build a dynamic platform where ideas flow freely, innovative solutions find expression, and the boundaries of what is possible are continually stretched. As we embark on this collective journey, let's seize the moment to exchange ideas, delve into pioneering solutions, and collectively push the boundaries of what the future holds. The Metaverse Tunisian Summit is not just an event, it's a collaborative canvas where we paint the picture of a future defined by innovation, collaboration, and endless possibilities. Thank you for being part of this event, and welcome to the Metaverse Tunisian Summit 2.0.
Thank you, Nurhan. Now, as my colleagues here said, technology truly has the power to change the future, and all the audience here today, you guys, this power is in your hands these 3 days. You have 3 days to come up with an idea, and hopefully I'll be welcoming one of you, or like 3 groups of you here, for the winning prizes, right? So now, before we delve into the very rich discussions we have lined up for you, we would like to say one last word of thanks to our partners without whom this event would not have been possible. We have JZ SMU, the Tunisian E-Governance Society, FNF, and lastly, IEEE Metaverse Initiative. And all of our sponsors. Your unwavering support has played a pivotal role in bringing this community together. First up, I would like to present JZ, who is dedicated to driving positive change worldwide. Its goal is to generate added development value for both their clients and partners. With a presence in over 130 countries and a rich history dating back 50 years, JZ brings a wealth of expertise in international cooperation for sustainable development and education. Let's please welcome the JZ representative, everybody. Hello, Mr. Hisham.
Hello, everybody. Just 1 second for the technical issues.
Take your time.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Farah, for the introduction of GIZ, and I am very happy to be with you today, dear partners, dear talented students. I'm very happy to be with you today as an organizer and a participant with my team of Industry 4.0 and Artificial Intelligence. So today, we find ourselves at the crossroads of the tangible and the virtual, the physical and the digital, and as we embark on a journey into the boundless possibilities on the metaverse, a digital frontier that transcends boundaries and reshapes the view we interact, learn, and innovate. As the CAO of Microsoft, Mr. Satya Nadella, said, the metaverse is here, and it's not only transforming how we see the world, but how we participate in it. From the factory floor to the meeting room. As written between the lines, the metaverse is fundamentally reshaping our perception of the world and revolutioning our engagement with it. I'm very happy to be among you today to witness firsthand how Tunisian students and talent are shaping this future with the technology, a sustainable and an inclusive future that brings opportunities for future generations. First, I would like to congratulate you, participant of the second Metaverse Tunisian Summit, organizers also. We are happy to support, together with our partners, this event which sheds light on your ideas and provides a platform for your innovative voices. The future of Tunisia is being built today and now. Thanks to you. I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone involved in this partnership. Our sponsors with us, like Friedrich Naumann Stiftung, Tunisian e-government, IEEE of SMUs and SUBCOM. So thank you for your mobilization and unshakable support that led the way for building the future of Tunisia. I'm looking forward to witnessing the incredible ideas and innovations that will emerge from this Metaverse Tunisian Summit. Congratulations for the newborn, IEEE of Metaverse, and wish you all the best, guys, and good luck for this journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We all hope that everybody here today has the same vision as Mr. Hisham here for the Tunisian youth, Tunisia's future, and using technology while at it. The next partner I'd like to welcome on stage is the Tunisian E-Governance Society, who's a non-governmental, non-partisan, and non-profit organization dedicated to advancing good governance through the enlightened use of digital technologies. Please welcome on stage. Oh, hello.
Good afternoon. I'm not really into speeches, but I will try my best. So it is with a great pleasure that I stand before you today on behalf of the Tunisian E-Governance Society. So we at the eGov have partnered with IEEE SMU and IEEE SUBCOM for the second year in a row. As we are confident that this is the kind of initiatives and events that would reshape the way we think, the way we create, and the way we connect with each others. So about the eGov, the Tunisian E-Governance Society is committed to, it is a non-governmental organization that works to promote the use of emergent technologies for better governance, simply as that. So we are committed to driving digital transformation and fostering inclusive governance through the technological advancement. Our collaboration with IEEE SUBCOM and SMU underscores our dedication, our willingness to leveraging the metaverse for the greater good and for our society. My heartfelt gratitude goes to all the team or the e-governance, the Tunisian E-Governance Society members. You had my back during the past 5 to 6 months. Thank you very much. And to finish, I'd like to thank also our strategic partner, the FNF. They have been with us for the past, I really don't know, but they have been with us for almost all our actions and events. Thank you guys for helping us doing the best for our country and the best for our society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have two more partners here with us today, but sadly they were not able to make it, so we would like to say a word of thanks to them either way. We have FNF, which is the Foundation of Freedom in Germany and the world, established in 1958. It's headquartered in, mind my pronunciation here, Potsdam, for German speakers out here, with offices spanning Germany and over 60 countries globally. FNF has been dedicated to supporting talented young students through scholarships. So if you're a student and you're still looking for scholarships, maybe FNF, you can check them out. And lastly, we have IEEE Metaverse Initiative, and this is an initiative dedicated to navigating the complex world of the digital realm. And now, and SMU, of course, our beloved school. Can we have a round of applause for SMU? Represent. Thank you. Okay, and now as you can see behind me here, it's gonna show up in a second. We're gonna be, there you go. We're gonna be walking you through the planning of these 3 days and what we're gonna basically be doing, what you have the chance to do, it's up to you at the end of the day. So for day one, which is today, we have a keynote speaker coming in today, which is scheduled for now. It's gonna start at 4. So after you have a little break, it's gonna start right after this opening ceremony. And then after that, you can have another coffee break, another keynote speaker, and then a third keynote speaker. And then at the end of the night, which is my personal favorite part of the day, it's where we play VR and AR games. And trust me, it gets really competitive and it's very, very fun. And it's a lot more worth it to go there and have fun after you've been through these keynote speeches so you feel like you've deserved it and you've earned it, Now for day 2, we also have panel discussions for, if anybody's been here since last year, they're very rich. If you're trying to develop an idea, if you have an idea already, you can develop it. If you don't, it can be a great source of inspiration for you. So we have 2 workshops, and then we have a round table, and your respective coaches will explain exactly what a round table concept is. We have a startup fair. So a lot of people with startups, amazing ideas are gonna come. You can present them with your business ideas, with your technology ideas, and they can give you feedback, network, work your way out there, right? And then we have a DJ party at night for the 3rd day. We have another panel discussion, workshops, and then you check out, and then you can have lunch, and then we can welcome the opening pitch for the 7 selected teams at first. So we're gonna select 7 teams. We're gonna present in the morning of Sunday, and then the judges are gonna pick 3 of those 7 teams who are gonna receive the top 3 prizes. I think that is it for the plan, right? Perfect, okay. So now without further ado, again, I would like to officially welcome you to the 2nd edition of the Metaverse Tunisian Summit. I hope you have an amazing 3 days ahead of you, and let the games begin. Thank you very much. Please pay attention to the after movie. What do you guys think of the after movie? Are you guys more excited now or? Yeah? Can we hear the excitement or? Huh? Amazing. Thank you guys. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to start off our keynote speaker number 1 of the day. This keynote is going to be about Metaverse, onboarding the next 1 million users? Question mark. Now, let me introduce our first speaker. Proudly a part of the MTS family, for those who may have missed the brilliance of this talk last year, I assure you it was a captivating journey through the nuances of the metaverse, to the good, the bad, the ugly. It left us all with a newfound appreciation for the possibilities that lie ahead and a sober acknowledgement of the challenges yet to be overcome. Our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sofiane Hajezi, is a blockchain engineer, with a remarkable background in blockchain consulting and a distinguished record of contributions to major DeFi protocols. So, without further ado, let's please welcome the man himself, Mr. Sofiane Hajezi.
Hi, everyone. It's a really great pleasure to be back. Feels like home. And thanking everyone who trusted me and invited me back so that, okay, amazing. So, onboarding the next billion to the metaverse. First of all, I know it's Friday afternoon. Everyone here had a terrible week, so everyone is tired. Everyone is so sleepy. It's Friday night. We're supposed to party instead of talking about how to onboard the metaverse and how to possibly challenge the unknown and get the gist of what's going on right now. So expect from today's keynote for me to spark curiosity so that we can create controversy. I believe that's how you can spark curiosity of people. And hopefully we're gonna start like a conversation during these 3 days so that we can understand the good, the bad, and the ugly of the metaverse and how all we can collaborate to solve that challenge. So maybe the better title for this keynote is how not to onboard the next billion people to the metaverse, because that's exactly, by asking the right questions, you get the right answers by understanding how you can do something bad or how you can wrong something. That's exactly where you learn about how to successfully build something. So it's not working. The pointer is not working. Okay. Oh yeah, so briefly about me, I believe I was introduced by her, so maybe gonna skip this one. Connect with me if you believe in the permissionless world, if you believe in a decentralized web, brave new web. Okay. Okay, so today's journey. So we are onboarding like quickly, like what we're gonna be covering today is, first of all, I'm gonna do a recap from last year, like how did we define the metaverse last year? What was the controversy about last year? MTS 1 year later, like just a small overview of what happened since last year, what were the major big news, what were the failures, successes that we have seen in the industry. And then we're gonna go through this really, I would say, controversial thing about the metaverse, saying that it's among the deads and it's no longer here. Maybe in the next 20 or 30 years, we're gonna see something as realistic as as what we already have right now, and then key challenges to how we all can solve the problem of the metaverse for mainstream adoption. Okay, so I believe I have a problem, so maybe Yusuf, you're gonna, yeah, next one. So briefly, I know the metaverse. What is the metaverse? So everyone here is like, everyone in the industry is having his own definition of what do we really mean by the metaverse. But seriously, if you think about it, it's just a bunch of technologies. Think of it VR, AR, or any, or AI as well, or any infrastructure, any technology that would help us build a digital twin in a virtual world, okay? Where your digital twin is waiting for you to take over your job and your life. And if you think about metaverse in these terms, as like this digital twin of your city, your digital twin of your school, digital twin of your teacher. If you think about the metaverse in these terms, then you got it, okay? So how do we get to the digital twin? That's where the key challenges reside, and that's, I believe, why the hackathon is here. I'm gonna see some really brilliant, I would say, projects, ideas, similar to what we had last year. I believe last year, I mean, I was mind blown by how really good some ideas were and how bad some ideas were. So it's between the two, okay? The good and the bad, it's always there. And the ugly is yet to be revealed. Okay, so this is the metaverse. Technologies to build a digital twin, and your digital twin gonna make your life much, much, much easier because you won't need to sweat in the real world. Okay, still not working. Okay, so last year I introduced like the metaverse in 5 stories, but let me keep the 4 of them. The first story was about Genesis. Genesis is where did this metaverse come from, okay? But let me keep only 4 stories for today, and the first one is a story of utopia. So the utopian story, the No Land, tells us about how rosy this world of metaverse would be, a world where you basically can make eye contact with your friend, maybe tap him in the shoulder, have your own, I would say, digital twin doing your chores for you and living your life while you are sleeping in your room, and all the rosy stuff that would make you even extending your senses. Some even were talking about having a 7th sense where you can wear those gloves and you can feel the moment, feel the heat of the virtual world, and even get to experience intensively those human interactions that sadly we don't feel them today. So that was the utopian. So we were dreaming of this really, I would say, magnificent world, this dreams where everything has no borders. And then came the story of the dystopia. So dystopia is basically when things go wrong. This is a very big distraction, by the way. Guys, I'm here. So the dystopia side of it was that, okay, what if things go wrong? Okay, what if instead of having this rosy world, we're gonna upload your data in your digital twin, and after you die, we're gonna keep your digital twin living forever and keep in a deceitful way scamming all the people around you. So it was also a world, like if you take the example of the Ready Player One, I don't know if you have read the novel, but it's a dystopian novel that stems its brilliance from the main conclusion. So basically it describes a world where everything just collapsed. Since people neglected their own real life, their own lives in the main, I would say, life, and they started building in the virtual world. So at a moment of time, at a certain time, they realized that, oh, we don't have anything in the real world. Everything we have been building all these years is in the virtual world. And the only life we have is in the virtual world. So it felt like a prison for the people in the novel. And then like the conclusion and why this is like a dystopian, because it's so bad, you're gonna end up like this in your cells because there is no point in living in real life. And the brilliance comes from the conclusion when Watts met his girlfriend that he met on the Oasis in the metaverse in real life, Samantha, and he for the first time receives a kiss from her, and he describes the immensity of the feelings he had. He said that, oh, that kiss felt like the poems I've been hearing of. And the conclusion was he would never log back to the metaverse. That was the conclusion of the dystopia. So is this like a world we want to live in? Like we lack interactions, real world interactions, where everything we get to experience is told instead of lived? And if you think about not just the metaverse, think about internet. So internet came for the promise of saving us time, while in reality, it's wasting us a lot of time. Average American is spending 2.5 hours a day on social media. If someone starts using social media from the age of 20 to 40 years, that would be 2 years spent in social media. Can you believe that 2 years of your life is went into scrolling those real stories? What life is that, guys? Okay, so this is the dystopian part. So this is the dystopian part. So what if 60 or 80% of your time is spent on this social media and you, at the end of the day, you don't own anything in the real world? Same to social media. It came promising that it would offer more and more connection between people, while at the end, it's just creating more and more lonely people. Look at what's happening in Europe, United States. People are so lonely that it's kind of considered as the disease of this century. After allergy, of course. And the third story was about the ugly truth. The ugly truth was all about, okay, what's this baby that we have, which is called the metaverse, which is really ugly and doesn't match exactly all the pictures, all the dreams that we have painted. Well, lack of hardware, lack of the quality of 3D renderings on the metaverse, like the metaverse was so bad that even employers, engineers working in that refused to use it because it's damn so bad for them. And so that was also part of the over-promising part. So we were over-promising a lot of ideas, a lot of potential, a lot of crazy ideas without mentioning how indeed we're gonna go there and how much time we're gonna get. It's just about, it's a matter of time, okay? So this is the ugly truth. Okay, what do we have now? How many of you have a VR headset or used Metaverse, the Decentraland over the 3 weeks? Raise your hand. Who here used ChatGPT during last 3 weeks? Okay, you get the idea. So this is the ugly truth. We are not there yet. We are not as disruptive as we should be when it comes to developing the tools and technologies, protocols, and consents about how to build this metaverse, let alone the interests of governments to this really wizardly notion. And the fourth story was about hope. Oh, hope is a big word. Hope is what drives innovation. Hope is what is gathering us here in Hammamet. Hope is what is flying people from, I have just met yesterday a friend from Jordany. We have a friend people coming from Croatia. And this is the hope that bringing all these people together so that we can think about or get to the light at the end of the tunnel. And hope is really what is disruption, is what gonna drive this disruption. So this is not an academic stuff. Please don't take this as academic stuff, but this is what I call the cycle of infinite disruption. So it always starts with the utopian, I would say, vision of this technology. Oh, we're gonna solve poverty, we're gonna solve droughts in the world, there will be no solving climate change problems. This is the utopian. Oh, and then, oh, what if this goes wrong? The dystopian phase of your ideation. And then comes the ugly truth. Okay, that's the smack in the face that tells you, hey, you can't do that because you are limited with the physical world. And then comes hope. And it repeats itself. And hope, if not like really controlled, can end up in a new utopia. So that's what I call the infinite disruption. So by the way, I believe we are still here. We went through the utopia, the dystopia. We've seen the ugly truth. We have seen how Meta, for example, failed and etc. So we know all of these things, but in the face of, I would say, finite challenges, there should be an infinite hope. Okay, so MTS 1 year later, what happened? Mark Zuckerberg's 46.5 billion loss on the metaverse is so huge. It would be a Fortune 100 company. So the company keeps bleeding, and recently their CTO confirmed that they will be switching to AI, considering AI as their main, I would say, target for the upcoming years. They want to disrupt AI. We're going to keep driving AI. So basically, you can see that this is the main company that like drove all the hype, built all the hype around the metaverse, and right now it's switching to AI. We have 65% plunge in the number of newly created Web3 or metaverses compared to 2022, where we had a crazy, crazy number. So you can see that we have a tiny or a considerable decline. We have Apple, which is launching its Vision Pro early next year, which is so expensive and so ugly. Okay, this is the ugly truth I've told you about. And it's going to just bring your iPhone to your eyeballs. So instead of you having your iPhone on your hand, it's going to be plugged to your eyeballs. And that's kind of one of the major, I would say, one of the nicest moves in the area. Like for a company like Apple to get interested in this stuff, that's good news for me. And also, there was this famous case where Hermès Paris, there was like an infringement. There was this case against Mason Rothschild. He basically took their bags, the Birkin bags, don't know if you know them, and he just created a replica of them on Decentraland. No, he just created NFTs with the same design of those bags. And basically Hermès sued him because it doesn't have any, because they see an infringement, of course, because it's the same design, and they're selling those things online. And that's exactly what raises the question of intellectual property. I believe you have a panel coming tomorrow or today regarding IP in the metaverse, because that's one of the main challenges that are stopping and blocking any advancement in the metaverse field, because we really need to know who owns what, okay? Because in a metaverse, you have thousands of unique of user-generated contents, and of course the question would be, okay, who does have the right to sell those? Who does the right to own those? Do we have any patents, etc., etc.? I'm getting to this in my next slides. And Microsoft Mesh, this is like for teams empowered by AI. This is basically a platform, so expensive also. They have their own headset. They cost around $3,500. And it's really, I would say, one of the most advanced metaverses right now, because they are smart guys, okay? They have coupled that with AI. So basically you can enter a room and say, okay, this room is so dingy, can you make it a lot more brighter or make it more fun? And that would immediately create different items, change the design of the room around you, and this is all generated by AI, okay? So that's kind of a cool tool, but that they are targeting like companies so that they can create this virtual environment. So since now, like all kind of software companies are switching to remote first. My company, of course, I've always been working remote. So they're thinking about this virtual world for their workers, where they can meet, hang out together, and enjoy like what they couldn't enjoy in their real life. So that's kind of Microsoft Mesh. I invite you to check it out and see how they are doing it. And we have I'm always here to discuss it and see how we can build something on top of that. And recently in South Korea, Seoul, they have launched their own metaverse. So it's kind of a digital twin of the Seoul city, so that you can, as a tourist, go to visit Seoul virtually and interact with the South Koreans there and get to discover where is my hotel, where is the airport, where can I catch the metro, and you can even speak to locals, and they have this inner translation going on, so I can speak in English and it would immediately translate that to South Korean. And if anyone went to South Korea or Japan, you're gonna understand the kind of hassle you will have, because seriously, none of them, very, very few people speak English there, and you always need a Google translation with you. So that's a major problem. And if the metaverse can solve that, then yes to the metaverse, yes to innovation right over there. So we have all this interests, we have some fallouts, we have interests, we have some successes, we have some drawbacks. And then comes this reports from Business Insider, which considers metaverse as dead, as one of the most, and sorry for the term, was one of the most big failures in the history of the digital world. It's a baby that only lasted with 3 years old. Why is that? First, think about the failure in the metaverse as, first is the over-promising parts. Even Meta was really over-promising without delivering anything. And then came, even if you look at Decentraland, it's an environment with $1.3 billion and with only 88 active daily users. So you have also like the rise of generative AI with GPT being like a disruption of all the models we have been seeing before. So all the money, so innovation follows the money, okay? If there is money poured in the metaverse, you're gonna see some innovation there. If money is being poured to generative AI, then you're gonna see a lot going on out there. So this is like what the market believes, okay? This is what the Silicon Valley, I would say, the landscape there is looking at metaverse as something that is far away from now. This is not something you see in next years, but maybe next 10 years. Meta, as I said, is, Meta is switching interest to AI. You have the company even stopped like doing advertisement to on the metaverse, and yeah, so we are kind of left alone in this really wild west, and the only thing we have is hope, and hope is basically by building. You just don't keep dreaming, you start building, and right now is the right moment to build. Bear market for metaverse. This is the exact right moment to get innovative and be creative about how you're really gonna scale it and make something out of it. So yeah, I wanted to share this with you just to, everyone here is curious or aware of this fact, so that if today or tomorrow you have a startup and you are pitching that to an angel investor, 100% you are not getting any funding unless it has AI in it. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, so did we really fail the metaverse utopia? Did we really fail it? I mean, even if the markets think so, even if those digital gurus think so, did we really fail the metaverse? And my answer to that is, you can't fail if you don't try. That's as easy as that. Did we really do something for the metaverse? What have we created during the last couple of years? What have we done? So that's the question everyone here should be asking. What we have been doing all these years to innovate and create on top of this metaverse and shape the metaverse. So here is the funny part, is about how do you fix it? Okay, what was the real, what were the hurdles for this metaverse for not picking up. So today we're gonna try to, in 3 challenges for me, you can argue with me and tell me, oh, we have more than 3, we have 6, 7, mentioning privacy, mentioning scalability, etc. But for me, like today I'm gonna just talk about 3 main challenges that are so dear to me. The first one being artists, okay? So you can't have a metaverse without artists and brands. So the artists are what really empower the metaverse. And if you are not protecting the rights on your metaverse, then you are doing it wrong. So what's the problem? Earlier I mentioned, so in these key challenges, I'm gonna go through what's the ugly truth and what's hope, okay? So that we all are following what's going on. So the ugly truth about today's metaverse is that not only the metaverse, but the full, I would say, governance regarding metaverse in multiple countries is that we don't have an intellectual property that works internationally. So let's say today I have invented this squared wheel. I have reinvented the wheel, okay? And my wheel is really amazing, 100% saving on your gas. And you're gonna get full refund if your car moves any further, okay? I want to protect my invention. I reinvented the wheel. So how would I proceed? I'm a Tunisian guy. I'm gonna apply for first of all, I need to do a research that there is no other patent covering this squared wheel. So it's a long process. I need to go through each registry of each country and see if any of the patents is covering a squared wheel. That's a long process, very, very time consuming. And then, okay, no one invented the squared wheel? Okay, amazing. I'm gonna apply for a patent here in Tunisia. But that would apply only like locally. My patent works only in Tunisia. If I want to protect my patents internationally, I should be filing for applying in multiple countries. I should apply in the United States, apply in Europe. And right now it takes around 13 months, even more, for your patent to be accepted. And then there is this question, is it a design? Is it a utility patent? What's the trademark? Or you have a copyright, etc., etc. So what and you have to deal with a lot of attorneys and a lot of hassles and a lot of problems that you're gonna encounter. And if anyone here who hasn't experienced the patent application, if you do, you're gonna realize how painful that process is. And sad truth is, we don't have a process where you can apply for a patent once and it's protected everywhere. We don't have that yet. So there is like no governance framework and dispute resolution, I would say, system that would protect your patent from in real world, let alone the virtual world, okay? So securing IP is a long process, and with the metaverse, as I said, you have tons of user-generated contents everywhere, so always the question of who owns what and who would protect my inventions in the metaverse. So that's a big question. So the hope here is, as I said, being a builder, being engineers, being technicians, the whole, you easily can figure it out for yourself. First, I would say, and maybe we can discuss this later, is have all the IPs, have all NFTs, have all pictures, all assets, okay? Metaverse assets on chain, in a public blockchain, okay? Since it's on chain, everyone can verify that, access that. Okay, great. How about using AI? How about using AI to scan all the on-chain assets, for example, and tell me, oh, this asset looks exactly like this one. These NFT Birkin bags by Hermes looks exactly the same as these ones. So that's like an automation, I would say, of that's a really simple, I would say, pipeline that you could implement to scan those on-chain assets. So you have AI and blockchain working together so that we can help solve this problem of, oh, this one has infringed my patent, or there was an infringement of rights, etc., etc. Because right now, the only way to figure out if your patent was stolen is to find it yourself. Otherwise, no one would tell you, hey, your patent got copied somewhere else. So yeah, that's suggesting maybe we have something in the hackathon to do something about the intellectual property using blockchain, using AI. And of course, like one of the main answers to that is more licensing, making licensing easier. So for me, if I want to create an NFT collection of Hermes bags, I would go to Hermes and ask them for the license to use their design and generate my NFTs, and that would be really easier for anyone to create new stuff on the blockchain, and always not killing the innovation just because someone is not building something right. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's the whole part, protecting IP using blockchain, using AI, and next I would say challenge for metaverses is the problem of interoperability. Okay, so right now metaverses don't communicate between each other, and think about it as like you go into a mall. Okay, you are shopping, going some shopping with your friends, and you need to wear different clothes to enter different shops. So if I'm entering Gucci, I need to be wearing Gucci. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be let in. If I'm entering, what else? Adidas, I need to be wearing Adidas. So that's the problem about the lack of interoperability, is that I'm building something here, but I can't use it on the other side. If I'm a brand, I'm interested in the metaverse, I'm not gonna hire two designers, one to design assets to work on Metaverse A and the second to work on Metaverse B, because that's a lot of money that I'll be spending. So those are expenses that are not inciting brands to go to the metaverse. As simple as that. Cross-chain interoperability is really important. If not only for brands, but also for users, because they wouldn't be restarting everything from scratch. Okay, what they are building on Roblox, they can use on Decentraland. We had a really great idea last year about something like that, where you can take an asset from Metaverse A and put in Metaverse B, and both metaverses are built on different blockchains, and they have managed also the communication, cross-chain bridging of those NFTs among blockchains. That was a really interesting project. I don't know where it did end up, but hoping they didn't die, similar to what okay, so when we talk about interoperability and cross-chain, we have some domains. The first one being the connectivity. I believe we don't have much, I would say, work to do in the connectivity parts. We have internet, we have everything we need to build something online. But as long as we go up, it gets difficult. The second part is persistence, and persistence is about the blockchain stuff. This is where I'm storing my on-chain NFTs. This is where we can track the identity of people, their transactions, what they did, what they did not, who owns this IP, who doesn't own. So we need to have kind of a communication, a protocol for communication between in this persistence layer. And then we have the presentation layer. This is like more of how we are rendering those graphic models, how we are rendering those avatars. And so far, I haven't seen anyone talking about a protocol for graphic rendering of avatars in the metaverse. So there is also the meaning layer, which is, okay, right now in this world we speak English, but what are we going to do in the metaverse? Which language are we going to use so that everyone can be on the same page? What are the semantics? What is the metadata? Are we going to have a religion in metaverse? So we need to kind of also get all on the same page regarding the meaning that we want to create out of this metaverse. And this is very interesting. This is more of a sociological, I would say, discussion, not technical one. And then there is the behavior one, like the rules, economies, consequences, power, who owns what, and who is leading, and et cetera, et cetera. So those are more of political science questions and I'm seeing a lot of interest going there so that we don't end up in a dystopian. How much time do I have left? I feel 3 minutes? Okay, amazing. I'm blessed. Okay, let's move on quickly. Okay, yeah, lack of standards, and the hope is for us to have like more cross-chain bridges, more consensus protocols, covering all these 5 layers. And then the third story is how you can make it affordable for anyone. So as I said, the Vision Pro is $3,500. HoloLens 2 is $3,500. So it's so expensive, the hardware right now. Let's not talk about GPUs, et cetera, and how you can have performance devices to run the metaverse and to make it accessible for anyone, and also for companies. Let's say a company with 10,000 employees, and each one of them needs to have a VR headset, and each headset is costing them $3K. So that's a lot of money being there. And just to finish up, sorry, last slide maybe, last slide. Oh, let's end up with the serenity prayer, okay? So this is what I want you all to keep with you during these 2 weeks. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you all, guys.
Hello. Oh, okay, perfect. I'm a little bit short for this microphone. How's everybody feeling so far? Are we still a bit energized, or do we need a break? We need a break? Me too. Before we take a break, I wanted to ask if anybody has any questions or anything about this speech. I don't see any hands. Don't mind, you guys are going to be in the picture. So is that okay? Perfect, amazing, yay. Okay, 1 second. After this, everybody can go take a break, and then after that, we have a keynote speech and another one. And then we have dinner and the amazing events, okay? Okay, is everybody ready? Are we gonna do hands up or just me? Okay, here we go. Wait, okay. Smile. Woo. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice break.
Test. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We are about to embark on 2 more interesting keynotes, so please take your seats. Thank you. Now that everyone is comfortable in their seats, I hope you enjoyed the coffee break. So take that as much as you can. I hope that you are a little bit more energized until we reach dinner. And now I will gladly announce the next keynote speaker. Joining us next is a notable figure in the realm of governance and technology, currently serving as the research coordinator at UNO-eGov and a thought leader in the field. So please welcome Dr. Sumaya Bindho. Here you go, the pointer.
So it's working. So this And can I have the light with us? The light?
Just one.
ولا later? أنا pointer. Oh, okay. D'accord. Merci. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me for this tremendous event. I'm very impressed. So I hope I will be as interesting as Sofiane that presented a very interesting presentation. But I will bring you back to the reality, unfortunately, and to this real world. And I will be presenting some of the results of my research. So I'm coming from an academic field research background. And at UNUE-Gov, so UNUE-Gov is a United Nations university, and we are conducting research and working with member states, so we are supporting government in the implementation of digital technologies and digital governance and government. So I will be talking about a very important topic, I think, particularly in our environment as Tunisian, which is how we can use these technologies, this interesting emerging technology, what we call GovTech, to fight corruption and enhancing transparency. So, what is GovTech? So basically, GovTech is a technology that is a whole of government technology, what we call the whole of government technology. It's integrating different type of technology for serving, for public service and governance. And we are trying to emphasize three different aspects in the GovTech for fighting corruption and enhancing the transparency. So basically here we try to emphasize something that is really citizen-centric. So we're going back to the citizen and not in the technology. So we are not interested by the technology per se and saying, okay, we will put in place blockchain or we will put in place AI and everything will be coming perfect and service delivery will be perfect and all the citizens will be happy and etc. No, basically we are trying to put back what is the interest of the citizens and what are the benefits of the citizens and trying to provide modernizing services. We are also in this GovTech looking into universally accessible services, public services, and whole of government. So whole of government putting together all the service and moving away from the silo, the bureaucratic part. So GovTech for corruption and transparency is basically looking into the transformation of the government, how we can transform the government to make it better for the citizens and to make it more interesting, less corrupted, automating all the services, automating all the processes and improving the workflow, make it easier. The idea behind it is to change this interaction between, we are not happy with our government in general, we don't like to go to the government, we don't like to request our birth certificate or whatever, so this interaction between the government and the public services and the citizens is not very nice and we don't trust the government in general. So basically how we can use this technology, how we can leverage this technology to make it a better interaction between the citizen and the government without going physically there and having the service. And the idea is when we automate everything and the process become completely transparent, there will be less corruption, there will be less fraud, there will be less request of bribery for having the passport on time or the ID card on time or something like that. So this is the idea by using GovTech. And here you have a full list of the type of technology that government are mobilizing for this GovTech experience. So cloud computing, cybersecurity, AI, data governance, different aspects, blockchain as well. So different technologies that are used for transforming the government. So basically, we are using there is trends. Every year, like Gartner is publishing different technological trends for government. And we are looking into top strategic GovTech trends that some of them have been presenting earlier by Sofiane. So you have the intelligent, so AI, how AI can be used for the technology and different type of categories. So you have autonomous things like for transportation, mobility, improving the public transportation in general, augmented analytics, AI-driven development, all this to contribute to better service for citizens. You have also digital, so which is the digital technology. Digital twins is one of the examples. There will be a presentation later on this topic. Immersive experience as well for the touristic or different environment, or in health, they are used a lot. Digital ethic and privacy, this is a big and one of the main problem when governments are using those emerging and innovative technology. Blockchain, so in the mesh type of technology, you have blockchain, which is one of the innovative technologies, smart space, cloud computing. So those are different types of strategic GovTech technology that are mobilized for fighting fraud and corruption. So I will be focusing on one technology. So I've been working for a few years now on blockchain technology. So I'm not a tech person. So if you have question or curiosity related to how blockchain, Sofiane will be answering to the question, okay? So for me, I'm just looking into how we can use the technology, what are the implications of the technology for the government and public service, and how it can, and what are also the risks that can be caused because of those technology. So blockchain technology for fighting corruption is one of the most relevant technology, I will say, for looking into frauds, errors. We have lots of errors at the government in Tunisia. You can confirm, I'm sure you have been through this kind of experience, any one of us. And so when corruption represents a breach of trust, so when we don't trust our government, and it happens all the time, a technology that strengthens the trust becomes an attractive solution in public projects. So public governance worldwide, and I will try to present you some examples, are looking into the blockchain technology for fighting corruption and fraud. So basically, I will not dig deeper into the explanation of what is blockchain technology. It's too technical for me, but it has been evolving, and I would say in the blockchain, the most known is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc. So this is like what is known, and it's called the blockchain 1.0. And it evolved through time. So the proof of concept evolved, the technology evolved, the application evolved. We moved from the use that was concentrated in the financial industry to different industry, and the government became one of the largest user of this blockchain technology, whether it's at the city level, at the national level, or at the regional level. So they are using, for example, blockchain at the European Central Bank, for example, for digital currency. So there is more and more application and more functionalities of blockchain technology at the level 3.0. And at the government, we have been seeing different type of use. And what is interesting about blockchain technology, it's actually beyond the technical part that is a ledger, basically it's a database, is the key features of the technology. So there is different type of key features. So basically there is 4 important features, which is, there is a little bit more, but I selected these 4. Decentralization, immutability, transparency, and trust. So basically, blockchain has emerged as one of the most promising disruptive technology in the fight against corruption. It possesses important features that can help anchor integrity in the bureaucracy, which is like a big challenge, by securing identity first, so we can have identity tracking funds as well, so following any money used by the government, registering assets, and this is one of the main use to fight corruption, particularly in our region of the world, and procuring contracts. So we will see this different features, how it is working. So basically, blockchain, you have 5 principles. So the first one is related to this decentralization. So what is decentralized is when each party on the blockchain has access to the entire. So you don't have a central database like we are used to know, where there is, like, for example, at MSB, we have a central database where all the students are registered. But here you will have this same list of students in all the different parts of the node. So it will be distributed, and everywhere, everyone will be having access to the central database. So you don't need to be at the other side, located at MSB in LAC to have access to the database or to have certain type of credential, but you can be anywhere and have access, or it can be from outside and have access to the same information that is in the database. The second principle of blockchain is related to the communication that occur directly. So you don't need an intermediary. And this is where there is the issue. When we do a transaction, we often go through an intermediary, either the banks to make sure that the buyer is receiving the money, or it's not lost somewhere in between, or you need a notary that will be registering, or a lawyer. You can do a transaction with trust without a third party. So you can, without, even if you don't know who is the counterpart or the buyer or the other party, you can trust. So it's a technology related to trust, and disintermediation as well. The third principle that is interesting as well for fighting corruption is the information about the transaction and the associated value related to the transaction. I tell you a story that is very common in Tunisia. So in Tunisia, when you buy an apartment or a house or anything like that, and we arrive to register, the clerk or the civil servant will tell you, oh, why you are registering it at the exact amount that you have paying? You will pay too much for registering it. Lower the price, say another amount, so you can pay just 6% of that amount or 1% of that amount, which is lower. So this is like corruption as well. Okay, so this is when you have the information that will give you the right value. So you can check that information. It's publicly accessible, so anyone can check a real value of a property or land or whatever that you are registered. And of course, you can remain anonymous in this case, so you can check and remain anonymous. I will tell you something about that it's not working everywhere. Depends on the culture. In some Nordic countries, they are very fine and very transparent. In more Arabic countries, that when they implement blockchain, they are not happy that their wealth is displayed or information are displayed. So when you have property registry or land registry or something like that, they're not happy about that. So you can remain anonymous. This is the possibility that is kind of features that is allowed with blockchain. The other interesting element about blockchain is the immutability. So when you record an information in that database, no one can delete that information. So it's there forever. And the transaction is recorded. You can add or update the information later, but you cannot delete this information. Of course, it's very important. So you have the right information about without risk of fraud or changing the information, but at the same time, it can create some issue in terms of regulation. The last features of blockchain that can be very relevant and interesting is the digital natures of the ledger and the transaction. So they can be programmed automatically, and this is what we call the smart contract. So basically, with a smart contract, you can be pushing instead of the citizen going after, so you can inform them automatically, oh, you have to do that, or you have to perform this transaction. And this is very interesting for the government, particularly when they are trying to fight fraud or corruption or errors, human errors as well. So why blockchain is an interesting technology for the government and public service in general? So basically, blockchain is known as being a technology of trust. So basically, you don't need to be trusting the other party. The second element that is very important is boosting the data transparency. So here, we are always looking into governments that are more transparent, even if in reality it's not the case. So we are looking for transparency, we are looking for trust, we are looking for easiness in data sharing. So you are not the one that will be moving with your data or your information or your paper from one window to another window, from one government agency, a public service agency, to another public service agency, because the data sharing will become very easy as it's decentralized and it's peer-to-peer technology. So this decentralized infrastructure basically can serve as a very interesting means to manage the interaction between different entities and with the citizen or the residents, if it's in the case of the city. So there is different way that blockchain can help government and public service, like for authentication, so for authentifying any document, or for integrity of data. So for example, you don't need to go to the municipality and do your legal signature. That is really something that nobody likes to do, and nobody understands why we need to do that. So that can help and reduce all this part of the public service. It can also automate the workflow, so it becomes more and more interesting to have to share data, to go from one agency to another agency, from one ministry to another ministry, and that can simplify a lot all what is public service procedure. The last thing is the shared database. There is many examples of shared database. So for example, if you are in the healthcare sector, you have many part of this sector. So you have the hospital, you have the clinic, you have the pharmacy, you have the doctor, you have the patient, and putting all these people that are from different area, private, public sector, individual, citizen, in the same network is very interesting and very time-saving and effective. So in the public sector, we have seen use cases of blockchain in different areas. For democracy, for decision-making, so it's improving decision-making. For identity as well, so we have worldwide a very high level of people, they don't have any identification. So probably if I ask in the room, some of you have probably 2 or 3 ways to identify yourself or to prove that you are existing. You have your driving license, you have your ID, you have your passport. So those are different ways of proving that you are existing and that you can beneficiate from public service. But worldwide is not the case. So electronic ID through the use of blockchain can solve lots of problems worldwide. Voting as well, there is many ways of voting, particularly for people that are abroad, for voting for in elections, so it helps a lot in terms of security. Public accounting, because we can track and trace the money that is used. So for example, at the UN, there is a lot of money that is managed particularly for refugee management, so they are using blockchain for managing all the money and donation for refugee camp, whether it's in Turkey, whether it's in northern Syria, whether it's in Jordania. So they are managed, so all the donation that you are giving to UN, like for the refugee or UN RWA, or this donation, when they are managed through blockchain, you don't have intermediaries. So you don't have banks, you don't have international transfer. So if you give 10 dinars, the person in the refugee in Turkey will receive 10 dinars, not receiving 6 dinars because the bank took 2 dinars for the service and the other intermediary took 2 other dinars. So this is also very beneficial when you are managing, tracking, and tracing money, also for the taxation as well. So those are some of the interesting use cases that are used with blockchain. The other possible application, and this is where I will be presenting, is related to all what is registration, from civil registry to asset, property, land registry, and this is where there is a lot of corruption, and we need to fight corruption. There is a diversity of use of blockchain. You have it in the healthcare service, you have it in the social care service, so lots of projects we have been working in social security using blockchain to distributing aid, social aid, etc. Mobility and transportation as well are some of the areas where blockchain have been used. Environment for tracking and tracing where your food is coming from as well. So if you say the organic, you can trace if it's really organic or not, or if it's a fake organic food. In the energy, so you have use cases of energy, so you can look into the saving energy, distributing the energy through the use of blockchain, telecommunication, and of course, one of the highest user of blockchain technology is the financial sector. So there is lots of benefits, and I can cite plenty. So disintermediation is one of the benefits. So in Tunisia, we have lots of intermediary for absolutely everything. If you want to buy a house, you have 2 or 3 intermediaries. If you want to register to a university, you have 2 or 3 intermediaries. You have intermediaries for everything. And this is creating a lot of corruption, and this is creating a lot of fraud, and this is requesting a lot of money. So this, with the blockchain technology, you make it much more transparent, and you have the real value of the product or the service that you are having. It's also eliminate all what is administrative burden. So the administrative burden, we all know what is it. So when you have overcharged by different type of paperworks and things like that, and that are not neither interesting for the clerk or the civil servant, neither for the administration, which becoming like very costly, and neither for the citizen, of course, that doesn't like to deal with all this administrative burden. So it can reduce create lots of benefits in reducing redundancy, introducing efficiency, effectiveness in the record of the information without errors, of course, and all these different benefits. Data sharing as well. So if the Ministry of Health wants to communicate with the CNAM and CNRPS, it becomes much more easy than the citizen going to the Ministry of Health and the hospital and then taking all the paper to the CNAM, and from the CNAM going to another agency and moving, etc. So there will be shared information internally without putting the burden on the citizen. It's also a multiple stakeholder partnership. So if there is not multiple party, there is no purpose of putting blockchain. Blockchain is relevant and interesting only if there is multiple party involved, not only 2 party involved. So all those are potential benefits, and I just cited those that have been verified. There is many benefits that have been cited, but those that have been verified in terms of benefits. So when we look into these benefits, we can say, so why blockchain is not everywhere? We don't have it in Tunisia at all. Not in single administration had been thinking about implementing blockchain. There was a project, I think, a few years ago about the central bank, looking into digital currency for the central bank in Tunisia. And I don't know, I think it stopped or at the reflection phase. It didn't even reach the planning phase. So why it's not blockchain everywhere with all these benefits? Basically, it's that the main issue that we can find with Metaverse, what Sofiane was saying earlier, is the regulation. So the regulation is so slow comparatively to the innovation that they are not catching up. And if there is no regulation in place, government will not put it in place for the public service. So it will slow down. And lots of projects have been adopted worldwide. Sweden had a property registry that was very successful. For a couple of years, it was presented as the most successful, technologically speaking, use cases for property registry. In the middle of the project, they just abandoned it. Why? Because the regulation was not following. They didn't have the right regulation to implement this technology. And this is happening constantly. So we are seeing this, one of the main barriers of implementation of blockchain is related to the regulation. And specifically some aspect of the regulation. One of the aspects that we are looking into the regulation, for example, in the GDPR, which is the European Data Protection Authority, basically is the right, no right to be forgotten. So as I said earlier, blockchain, when you record an information, is immutable. You cannot delete it. You cannot alter it. It's there, it's tamper-proofed, and you cannot change anything. But the data privacy and the data protection in the GDPR is allowing you to be deleted if you have a criminal record and you have done it's possible to return that. But with the blockchain, it's not possible. So there is no compliance between the regulation on data protection and privacy and the technology. So how we can solve that. So there is a lot of research being conducted right now to look into how we can align and making the technology complying with the regulation or adapting the regulation to the technology. So there is a lot of effort in this regard just to be able to continue innovating in those type of technology and implementing this technology. So how we can look into the potential of blockchain for fighting corruption for government and public service. So there is many entry points. So for example, notarial registration. This is where we can find most of the relevant cases that are currently operational for improving the situation. So blockchain is used to increase the workflow, to simplify the authentication of the information, the identity of the owner, the identity for the buyer, for example, for the land registry, the identity of the ownership as well, and executing and validating all what is relating. And all that will improve the trust that there is between the different party and will reduce the manipulation, because there is lots of manipulation of those information, not only related to the price, but also who is the owner, the name, etc. So there is many manipulation or many errors and fraud related to that. The second entry point, which is one of the most important, I will say, because here the people that are involved into corruption, fraud, extortion, and etc., they will be using the weakness of people, the vulnerability of people. So what are the vulnerability of people? They are related to justice. When you are dealing with justice, you are vulnerable. When you're dealing with education for your kids or your children, you are vulnerable. And when you are dealing with healthcare, you are vulnerable. So if you have someone that is sick and they are asking you to pay a bribe, you will pay it, just to make sure that your mother or your father or your relative get accepted into the hospital. You will not think about, oh, this is not legal, oh, this is not. You will pay, and you will. They ask you for the bribe, you will pay it. So they use these weaknesses or this vulnerability of people for corruption. And by automating the workflow and by improving the control over the data and by the transparency through the use of blockchain, that can reduce tremendously the possibility of intervention and intermediary throughout the process. And that is very relevant for in this sector, justice, education, and healthcare. So there is many others, like in transaction. There is also, when we combine, like for blockchain, when we talked about certification earlier, combining AI and blockchain for having your patent, for example, this is like where there is entry points that are very relevant using blockchain for fighting corruption. So let me give you some statistic so you understand how far is this corruption, particularly in our region. So some data from Africa and from Middle East. So according to the recent UN report, when you have weak governance in the government level, so that leads easily to corruption at the administrative level. And for example, they find that this weak governance in 61 countries related to land registry, for example, or land occupancy in 61 countries is there is this crisis. 90% of the lands and property are undocumented. We don't know who are the owners of those lands and of properties. For example, we are coming from Portugal, and in Portugal there was all the summer basically there is fires. And when there is a fire in the summer, when it's getting hot, the fireman needs to access to those land. But if they don't know who is the owner of the land, they cannot contact them to have the permission to access through their land to fight the fires. So this is a problem when it's not registered, when we don't know who is the owner of the land. And this is happening in Africa for 90% of the lands and for the property. So this is like really an issue. And in Tunisia, it's so expensive, for example, to register any property that most of the people, they don't register their land, they don't register their property, or they postpone it until till you have an issue related to a heritage or legacy or something like that. There is also 1 million more legal ownership of the land where they have built houses and that they don't know who is the owner. So you have a house and a land, and the land is not in your name. So they can expulse you at any moment from your house, and this is happening everywhere. And there is 2 other issues related to that. If, for example, you have 1 billion people that they don't have even identity, so how they cannot prove who they are, how they can prove what they own. So this is like also a tremendous problem. So in terms of land registry and property right regarding corruption, we have identified different ways of corruption. So it's very common, for example, that government officials like clerk or civil servant will alter titles. So they will change the title of the registry property. Or for example, if they see that there is any property that is not properly registered, they can register it in their own name. So they become owner of land that they don't know who is the owner. They can allocate those property to themselves. So we see lots of civil servants becoming very rich, owning lots of property that are not their property. There is also an issue related to the citizens accessing who is the land owner. So sometimes you see that some property are sold twice, 3 times, and by different owners. So, and everyone is saying, oh, this is my house, this is my land, so I can sell it. So you get lost in this ownership because you don't know, you cannot prove who is the owner. So it creates a lot of conflict, and it creates a lot of issue related to the ownership. So all this can be sorted using blockchain technology, or it can provide some interesting solution for that. I give you some examples. So, for example, one of the most known land registry have been created by Georgia. So Georgia is one of the pioneer in this field. They have developed a land registry using blockchain, and that was to increase, they had a huge problem of corruption, and they had to clean throughout the government for years before they implementing all the digital government. And this is one of the projects following this corruption fighting. So the land registry to increase trust, increase transparency, increase access to information related to land registry, and improving all what is relationship between government and citizens and public. So you can access to all the information. Anyone that is want to buy a house or want to buy land can go and check just by entering the information about the property. If it's not sold already to someone else, or if the owner is really the owner that you will be paying, and getting all the information related to the land. There is also different projects in Africa. So for example, in Ghana, one of the most known projects. So in Ghana, they have a situation where 78% of the land are not registered. They don't know who are the owners. So they needed to find a solution for that. And the elders that know the owners of the land are dying. So when the elders die, they don't know anymore who is the owner. So they transmit this information from elder to son, and etc., etc. But you cannot, it's not sustainable. So you need something more relevant for that. So they are using blockchain for this kind of property rights, and they are extending the same project in Nigeria as well. There is also a similar project that have been in India. It was so successful that they moved from the land registry to the property registry, and now they are doing, based on the same technology, vehicle registry. So they are developing these blockchain use cases since 2017 till today. It's very successful. We worked at UNUIGov with Uzbekistan developing the blockchain. So what they have done in Uzbekistan to completely eradicate any risk of fraud, any risk of corruption, any risk of situation related to errors or fake errors, they started by removing everything and creating a civil registry. And based on this civil registry, so birth certificate, marriage certificate, death certificate, etc., they are moving to other level of registry, like land registry, property registry, enterprise registry, and etc., etc., by having this first layer of civil registry, having the right information about the identity of the people. And there is also an interesting example in Italy for fighting corruption as well. So in Italy, they have in the South Tyrol, in Italy, they have this situation where there is lots of corruption and lots of bribery from telecom companies for putting the cell towers. So the cell towers can be used so in any place, in any land. Even if you don't want, you bribe just a clerk in the municipality, and you can get an authorization to plant this cell tower. So now with this blockchain application, they allow the citizens, they empower the citizens basically to vote on where to put those cell towers. It's not between the municipality or the officials and the company anymore, but even the citizens that are living in that area, the residents have a say, because those cell towers are damaging the health of the people. They don't want it to be close to their home. We see them here in Tunisia on top of the buildings, which is not good for our health in general, but this is because they get the authorization from somewhere when they don't have the right to implement those cell towers. So this is another example as well of use of blockchain. And you can find this kind of example in different areas. So for example, you can find it in taxation, so tracking and tracing all the payments. You can find it in supply chain. In procurement, we have a tremendous issue related to corruption in public procurement. You can find it as well related to digital identity, so creating blockchain application for digital identity, so EID, education as well, falsification of diploma, certificate, and etc. So verifying this education credential. So those are different type of example where you can use blockchain technology either by itself or combined with other technology, big data, data analytics, AI, etc., for fighting corruption. So just for concluding, some consideration related to the use of blockchain and why it is attracting attention for the government and public user as the second most important user of blockchain technology after the financial sector. First of all, it's because this technology, it's very interesting for the workflow, for the automation, and for providing a better quality of service. For this trust and interaction, improving the interaction, and the data sharing as well. So blockchain is a technology that have been here for 20 years now, like 2008, probably 10, 15 years maybe. 15 years, and it's still evolving. And we noticed, like we have done a study on with government and public service, and 80% of the decision makers in the government and public service don't understand at all blockchain technology. So they are the one deciding of implementing this technology, but they don't understand it. They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the capacity to decide of implementing blockchain or not. So this is something that is important related to the knowledge. And also the implementation, there is a minimum requirement of the implementation, but if you have a good internet penetration, it facilitates the adoption of blockchain. Blockchain as well is very interesting for countries that are at the beginning of their digital transformation, because it helps leapfrogging and moving forward with the technology without going through the different stage of digital transformation like in Europe or Denmark, or that have been 20, 30 years of digital transformation. So if you are starting, you can jump and save times and catch up with your development and digital transformation. So this is different aspect that can help public service, government, and also in the interaction with the citizens to operate in an environment that is less corrupted. I won't say like not corrupted, but less corrupted. And I will be ending with that because I think I take more time than I was supposed.
No,
thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very insightful. Hi, everybody, again. How's everybody feeling right now? Are we, oh, yeah, good? I like the thumbs up. Everybody good? Yay! Oh, good, perfect. Okay, we have one last speaker for today, and after that, everybody can go for dinner. We get our tummies full, and then we do whatever, okay? So, 1 second, please. Oh, there you go. Okay, so our third keynote speaker will be covering the topic of digital twins for urban development, historical preservation, and virtual tourism. Our next keynote speaker is an eGov advisor at the United Nations University. This is sounding very familiar. Oh, so it's not? It is you, Morton. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay, let me start over. Please welcome Mr. Morton. I will give a brief introduction about you. He's an eGov advisor at the United Nations University, operating unit for policy-driven electronic governance, an international think tank on digital transformation of the public sector in Portugal. A dynamic expert in urban development, historical preservation of virtual tourism, with a PhD in public administration, governance, and innovation from Tallinn University of Technology. Please welcome with me Dr. Morten Meyerhoff-Nielsen.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So I'm a bit of a walker. I don't like staying behind here, but yeah, thank you very much for the invitation and thank you for the presentation. There is a slide deck somewhere. But we're going back to a bit of practicality here and some use cases. So some of you will remember from our discussions last year that use cases are very different from what the theory or from what we think we can do. So you'll remember this metaverse definition. Most of you probably have seen variations of it, so I'm not going to dwell into that. But essentially what we're talking about is this umbrella concept that covers different technologies, different use cases, different concepts. And I'm going to talk about some specific ones. We also know that a lot of the use cases we see are particularly around socializing and gaming. So this is a study, and if we look at it, what is the role of the public sector, for instance, our municipalities, our ministries, our regions? We see that only really virtual learning, some virtual work settings, then there's some digital tourism promotion, but we see very little in terms of sort of classical public service delivery. One area that does have that is not here, and that's related to urban planning. This is our smart cities. It is our smart transport, etc., where government entities has a key role. So in this aspect, we have the concept of the digital twin, not the digital alter ego of me as a person, but of the community we live in. So the digital twin concept is rapidly developing, and we're seeing it both in Europe, in Africa, we see it in India. In fact, in India, they did a small pilot project. Everything in India is small. So it was 100 cities that were piloting this, and they all had populations of at least 5 million inhabitants. So they're quite small, yeah? They also did then a rural community-based version of the smart city in 500 different locations. And why are they talking about smart communities? Well, because not every country, every part of a country is a city. Some cities are not cities, they're towns, they're villages. Some municipalities are fully urban. Tunis is fully urban, but Hammamet is not. Hammamet includes villages, rural areas. So they need different technology concepts or different adaptations of these concepts in order to get the smart to work. Because while Seoul can put a sensor on every street corner and cover it with 5G, if you go to rural Korea, you can't afford to put a sensor on every street corner because there's only 2 cars passing every 3 hours. So it doesn't make sense. So what is the digital twin? Well, it's basically a virtual representation of the physical city. So it's about where's the water pipes, where's the cables for the telcos, where's our electricity cables. Are they in the air? Are they in the ground? Where are they? Where are the connection points? Where's our physical infrastructure like roads, parks, public building? Where are all the factories? Where's everybody's homes? What do they consist of? Who has what ownership rights? What conditions are it? And so forth. So essentially, the digital twin is a model that represents that alter ego of the city. But it also goes beyond that because it looks at the individual buildings. So it's also about the electricity connections within the building, in our homes, in our offices, and so forth. And why are they doing it? Well, because they want to do planning. They want to figure out, if we dig a hole in the road here, what is the impact on traffic? If we're fixing the water pipe, do we need to fix also the electricity cables while we're there? So let's get the other partners in and we can fix things on this street all at once instead of digging the street up 4 or 5 times in the next 2 years. If we have roadworks, and we were just all coming from Tunis, if we have roadworks on this highway, do we also want roadworks on the other roads in this neighborhood, or do we not want to do that now because then there's total congestion? So this is where the digital twin comes in and allows us to look holistically at our city and our communities in order to optimize the way they develop, how we maintain it. And we can do that in terms of basically playing around in the digital twin, like the metaverse, on seeing if we do something over here, what happens over there. So again, we do it in terms of synchronizing the data. Some of this data is live, it comes from our sensors, it comes from satellite imagery, and so forth, and then we specify the frequency and the fidelity of how often we do this. Some of this data we collect live, some of it we do once a year. So again, it allows us to use both real-time and historical data to play and do scenarios for how we develop our cities and communities. And that is essentially the first use case, the digital twin for urban and community planning. So again, we simulate, we're looking holistically. The pros, the benefits of the digital twin is that it's a tested technology. We see this also in terms of the price point. It builds on existing things like data, it builds on IoTs, and we can play in the digital twin through both virtual reality or augmented reality or mixed realities. So for instance, we see that in cities like Hamburg, traditional urban planning was, here's a beautiful 3D model or physical model of how the street will look and your neighborhood will look. And then everybody's like, oh, that looks so great. But then once they implement it, it was like, well, the park benches are all on the wrong side of the street and the shade not on the sunny side. Oh, this rendering looks beautiful, but there's actually only 3 parking bays for 30 buildings. We forgot about that. Whereas with the augmented reality, people suddenly start being more engaged and they actually get a more real feel for what it will be to live in that neighborhood or in that street post-maintenance. Whereas the beautiful renders doesn't give that real feeling. What are some of the cons? Well, smart city initiatives we see globally are often not holistic enough. They tend to look in silos. So they look at mobility in one pillar and utilities in another pillar and then waste in a third pillar. But the idea of the concept is to look at it holistically. So we're still seeing that there's some improvement potential. Also, we see that often it can re-emphasize existing digital divides. It is people like us in this room that engage with this in a virtual sense, but we also do that if it was the old-fashioned physical sense. So the virtual doesn't necessarily include the minorities, the weaker households in our communities. They still don't engage. So that's one of the negatives. What we also see is this bias can be amplified through the virtual. We all see that on social media, that although we hope that social media would increase the breadth and the depth of participation in society, it is the same people that just have another channel for amplifying their views. So the chattering classes get amplified, whereas the marginalized, the poor, the weak do not get a chance. While the technology cost is coming down, the cost of this digital twin and the technology to collect the data is still quite high for low-income countries. So there are concepts around it where they're trying to fix this. But again, the stakeholder skills, the skills within the public sector, particularly smaller municipalities, they do not have the skills and capacities to manage a smart digital twin or a smart city. So again, it comes back to it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the viability of having Internet of Things and sensors on every corner depends on the type of setting you're in. So again, population density is one of the things that we're looking at. So again, the metaverse or the smart digital twin is one of the ways that we can use, in the public sector, we can use this type of technology. The other thing is linked to this, and this is historical preservation. So while you can have a digital twin, it can also help us to do historical preservation by keeping a historical record of how our cities or communities used to look. Yeah? So this is basically providing a digital archive. So although we know that our cities will change over time, and sometimes a building has fallen apart and it's no longer viable to maintain it or restore it, we can then keep a digital imprint of that and use that for our historical preservation. So again, the pros here is that we can complement the digital twin with certain data sets in order to do so. So we see that in terms of again, the same combination, but it can also help us to preserve interiors of buildings. So you might see that sometimes preservation, with all the best intentions, end up actually destroying something because they use plastic windows instead of maintaining the wooden window frames, or they use concrete instead of traditional materials. But again, the cost of the platform is sometimes prohibitory. What we also see, particularly in UNESCO protected cities, so Sumaya and I live in a UNESCO protected city center in Portugal. Here it can be a prohibitive high cost to maintain a historical building, because you need to do it according to certain guidelines from the Preservation Society. But there can also be a sense of invasion of privacy, that the Historical Preservation Society can dictate what type of windows you have, or what type of doors you have, what you can and cannot do inside your own home. So again, there can be these things about it. It can also lead to longer processes, because there is a more complicated process around the building permit or the renovation permit. So you can see that there is an increased risk of trying to bypass regulations and do the renovation illegally. And this is again where the urban planning comes in. So how are different countries approaching this? So for instance, in Denmark, Copenhagen, suburban Denmark, my dad's municipality is now using drone and satellite images to check if people have built illegal extensions to their houses, or have done a carport that's too close to the boundary of the neighbor's property, or on the wrong side of the property. Yeah? So they're doing those type of things. We have a colleague that actually works with image recognition, where they're using Google satellite images. So basically your Google Street Map, and training algorithms to spot how different dots on a map, whether or not it's a house, it's a shack, does it look like it has electricity connection? Is that connection then linked to a legal contract, or are they tapping in illegally to the electricity network? What type of traffic is there in the neighborhood? So they can use basic images to try and predict how the city needs to roll out water, electricity, roads, schools, clinics, etc. So again, they're using the same concepts, but they're trying to keep it at a cost efficiency point. The other thing is new services and products within the tourists industry. So a lot of you have probably seen these beautiful images of rendering where you have your smartphone and then things pop up and you can get more information about the building. You have it in museums where you can use an app or you can scan a QR code. No, it goes beyond that, yeah? So you've also sometimes seen that in some historical sites or some of the ruins, where you can actually scan with your phone and you can see what the building used to look like in the past. So that's what we're talking about. So again, it can provide new products or new value added to give a more immersive experience when you go to, for instance, Duca and look at Roman ruins, to see what was it looked like, what are the renders, but you can do it in real life. Now, it helps to enhance the traditional approach. On the other hand, it does have some negatives. So remember the Pokemon craze where people use their phone for Pokemons? Now imagine virtually augmented tourism at a tourist site, and people start emerging. They forget and they start climbing on things they shouldn't be climbing on, and they unintentionally damage the tourist sites. What we also have to remember is if we do a fully augmented or fully virtual tourist experience, will they actually come here physically to visit us? Because the physical tourists put more money into the local economy than a virtual tourist sitting in Copenhagen or New York. So how do we balance that in order to optimize the way that we get tourists here? The other thing is the user interface, the user experience. Do I really want to download a special app in order to have, you know, a couple of pop-ups on my phone that explains things about a site or a painting in a museum? Isn't that a step too much? I have to scan a QR code. I have to install the app. Then I'm also required to have a data connection, because if I don't have one at the museum or the site, well, then I have to pay roaming charges, or I have to go and find a SIM card. Yeah? So again, there are some negatives or some barriers to that we have to think creatively about to overcome in order to make it really user-friendly as well. So those are some of the things, and I know we have a fourth one that I didn't mention in the title, and some of you that were here last year will have seen this use case about education. But imagine that we use the digital twin and the historical preservation and the augmented tourism products. We can use that in education as well. So imagine those classical school trips we've all been on that were super boring. Now, if they were augmented, they might have been a little bit more interesting. So again, here we're talking about the same smart digital twin that the city would use for all the stuff like urban planning. How can we use that to preserve our community over time? How can we use it to develop new tourism products? How can we use it in our educational system? So those are some of the things that we've seen, and these things are already happening. It's not just in cities like Seoul, it's also in small towns like Herrenhof in Germany with a population of 40,000 people. So again, there are cities doing that. You see that also emerging in Africa. You see it in some of the new museums. Unfortunately, some of our museums are a little bit too classical in their thinking, a little bit traditional. They like to put things on displays or give you a headset with a bad recording in 5 languages. But imagine that we take that another step and do that also outside, or to complement it for the tour operators or our teachers when they take us on a guided tour as a student or as a tourist. So those are some of the things that we can look at. I don't know if you have any questions, any observations. I think we have a little bit of time. I see no one. Otherwise, there will be a dinner or there'll be a coffee break tomorrow. So Maya and I are both here tomorrow, so please feel free to... There's a question? Yeah. I'll stand over here this time.
Cool. I just want to ask, how can we implement the augmented reality and the metaverse to enhance new technologies like smart grid?
One more time.
How can we use new technologies like metaverse and augmented reality to enhance the new technologies like smart grid?
Oh, I think it's a good question. One of the things that I personally find a little bit disappointed sometime when we look at the metaverse is the graphics of it. It's still a bit clunky sometimes. And I think there's also a big difference on what part of the metaverse you're talking about. I think when it comes to gaming, when it comes to sort of virtual learning tools like operations, etc., I think there's a lot of really interesting things. But again, those are very standalone things. It's not really holistic. Yes, I can immerse myself in a game, which is great fun. I can do things practicing as a surgeon, which is very practical, but it doesn't really go beyond that at the moment. So again, I think this virtual life we're talking about is not yet happening. There's elements of it, and the use cases again is the key challenge. How do we ensure that that this potential of the metaverse really becomes that real twin of what we want, so we can move in and out of it. I don't have the answer to it. I have parts of the answer in terms of trying to look at it in certain things like urban planning and how we can use it, or in education. But again, some of the things with education, for instance, there's a lot of talk about the metaverse to be a playground for students to experiment, etc., and that's true. And then there's also this traditional challenge about cyberbullying, etc., that we see that the metaverse doesn't solve that. In fact, it might amplify it. So again, we don't really know the answers there. So I don't have a full answer to your question about how we do it smartly, but I think the idea of the metaverse is to be more holistic. It is to look on ways to combine different things, to learn what is, if we do something here, what's happening over there. Yeah? What are the potential unintended impacts on something I want to do? How do we use it as a tool to do that? But then again, that's a very public sector perspective. And then I know there's a panel tomorrow about intellectual property rights and copyrights and privacy. So again, there's a lot of these things that are also not defined, as Sumaya was also saying earlier. What is the ownership rights of some of these things? If I am a user and I generate value and I contribute to a metaverse game, do I get a credit for that, or is it the platform that owns it and sells it without me benefiting from it? So all these issues are still out there as well, and they're not clarified, but we're going to discuss it tomorrow in a panel. So that's one thing. Sorry for not being very clear on that. Anyone else? No? Oh, there's one over here. Where's the mic? There's a mic coming. There's one on the way there.
So, okay. If we have like something like that, like we have captors and receptors, IoT devices everywhere, won't that like be some invasion of privacy? Like if they are following us, everything we do, something like that?
Potentially, yes. And that's again when you start combining data. So again, there's some really interesting cases. So the Norwegian national broadcaster about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, no, pre-COVID, did an experiment on the new GDPR, so the EU's data privacy regulation. And they were looking at how they could actually track, identify a person and track this person based on data that is in the open space. So we're not talking about hacking into government ministries or hacking into his phone or anything. Basically looking at how he was checking in on social media, how they were doing this. And they identified by name a civil servant with security clearance in the Norwegian Ministry of Defense. Yeah, so he had a medium-level security clearance. They managed to identify him by name, where he lives, his wife and their 2 kids, when he picked them up at what daycares, what route he took to work, what his preferences were for takeaway during a week, all based on data they bought from social media platforms, like any advertiser can do. So yes, there is that fear. There's been a lot of discussion. Some of you might remember the discussion about China's social credit program, where they were basically giving citizens credit for certain things like paying your taxes on time, not getting parking fines, not chewing gum in the metro, and this type of thing. And how that could potentially be used to change behavior of people by saying, oh, you commented something that we didn't like on social media, so you get less points. Yeah? Then you have done this, you get another deduction points, and then you don't suddenly get a job. or you suddenly can't get the same in social security or in pension or whatever. So there was a lot of fear around that. And this is where sort of the GDPR, for all its pros and cons, is going in and trying to regulate that by saying, all of us have a right to ask anyone, government, private sector, social media, doesn't matter, what data do you have on me? How are you using it? And I have the right to request that you delete it. Now, in practice, it's a lot more difficult, but it is trying to do that. And one of the things that GDPR did quite interestingly is that it borrowed from American legal tradition where, you know, an American citizen that feels that they've been treated unfairly by a Japanese car maker in a rental car they used in Tunisia. And they can sue the company, the Tunisian company and the Japanese company in the US courts. So the EU did the same and say, basically, any data on an EU citizen, EU resident, EU company, handled by any private or public entity globally, must be treated according to the GDPR. If not, you can be sued in an EU court. Yeah? So if I fly Tunisian Air from Saudi Arabia to Tunisia, because I'm a European citizen, both the Saudis and the Tunisian immigration officials and the Tunisian airline has to treat my data according to the GDPR. Whether or not they do it, I doubt, but in theory, they have that responsibility because I can sue them in Europe. Yeah? Will I do it? Probably not. But it could be interesting. Yeah? So there are those fears, but again, this is where the watchdogs come in. And this is where the panel tomorrow will be quite interesting. I suspect we'll get in on the privacy, although we're talking about IPRs and copyrights. But it quickly becomes about identity management, ownership, and how do we manage the data? Who's the legal jurisdiction? Yeah. Got time for one more? Oh.
Yes, we have time for one more question.
One more question. Anybody? Before I go up the stairs. Okay.
So for the Neuralink project of Elon Musk and the implementation of Meta in the coming years, wouldn't this be scary for our life events?
Life events as in life events from the public service?
This will be a very huge change in our life basis.
I don't know, to be honest. I think the metaverse in what sort of Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg is thinking is still some years away. First of all, the large language models for AI is still not there. Yeah, the data storage is still quite expensive. If we're coming to gaming, I think it will be a lot faster. If it comes to like real world with the banking services and the shopping experiences, etc., being fully immersive, I think we still have some time to go. With the public sector, I think the public sector will be more conservative in its approach to this. A number of countries actually did this with Second Life. So the Swedes opened an embassy in Second Life. I doubt if it's still open. But again, so some governments are looking particularly, and some companies are looking at the experience they had with Second Life and how it didn't really take off. But then again, technology matures, the price point comes down. Some of you might be old enough to remember the early voice recognition chatbots from call centers back in the late 90s, early 2000s. How bad they were. They were crazy expensive. The voice recognition was not very good, so you had to repeat yourself all the time. And you ended up in these sort of blind alleys where it was not actually learning, it was actually human-made question and answers in a sort of a traditional FAQ. Whereas now you see that the voice recognition is better, we're seeing that you have these cognitive learning AI algorithms that actually start learning based on volume of repeat questions and can start responding, but it's narrow AI. It's not the full-on, the full sort of humankind immersive AI. It's very narrow, where it's basically learning by repeating. So again, similar to what we're seeing in other parts of the metaverse, that some of the use cases are very narrow. It's about gaming, or it's about gambling, or it's about image recognition technology, about cancer, or the way the body is set up. So again, there is some way there. You see it also with ChatGPT. There's an interesting study coming out of the UK. I believe it's Oxford University that did the study. So it did it with a third-year Bachelor of Law students, and they allowed the one group to use ChatGPT for assignments and exams, and the other group was not allowed to use it. And what they found was quite interesting, that for the group that used ChatGPT, the grade point average generally increased overall for the group. But it increased a lot more for weak students, whereas previous top students, their grade point averages actually fell. And what they found when they interviewed people was that the previous good students were no longer motivated to study as hard. Whereas as a tool to help weaker students, it was very beneficial. Now, we've played around a bit at our office with sort of research and using ChatGPT for it. So I pushed a report into ChatGPT and asked it to do an executive summary in 500 words of a report that I was a co-author on. And as a first step, it gave me some very basic stuff. It was very general. It didn't even stick to the word limit. It was either too short or too long by a margin. Then we tried it again and again, and it basically, because the report had been structured on case studies and it was done alphabetically, it always referred to Australia first as the example. It never referred to Canada, which was the second country in alphabetically. So again, because I knew the content better than the machine, there was things that it didn't come up with, yeah, because it was too general. But then again, it was still a great help because it gave me ideas and said, oh, this is actually a good part, let me take that. This part is not good. This part, I need to ask the question differently, and then I get what I do, but I still had to rewrite it. Yeah? But if I wanted just a quick shot and saying, what does this report say? It would give me sort of 50 to 60% of the knowledge I would need. But the rest was still missing. So again, it depends on where you're coming from. So I think, back to your question, where would the metaverse be and in real life? It is soon. I think it's still some time away. But you know, there's elements of it that is really moving fast and other elements that are not moving so fast. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Morten. Okay, that was, oh wow, that was very insightful, wasn't it, you guys? Did you enjoy the Q&A part? Nice, very nice. I love how it's still alive. Yeah, you are. One last thing, my colleague Yusuf here has a kind reminder for you.
Yes, so before I let Farah mark the keynote sessions, I would like to remind the hackers from the audience that you have to follow the WhatsApp group for all news about the on-the-site mentorship, which is gonna happen after dinner, all right? So be updated and go check out the WhatsApp group. Good luck for the hackers, and now I let you with my colleague Farah.
I'm not gonna make it long for you guys. I know everybody's hungry. I know I am. Everybody wants to relax a little bit. You know, it's been somewhat of a long day, but very, very impactful, and a lot of value added is in it. So without further ado, please enjoy your dinner and best of luck, everybody. Thank you.
Have a nice dinner.